hey, hey, and He can make a way, hey, hey. So humble yourself and pray, and guard His Torah, obey each day. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Hoshiana, Hoshiana, hallelujah, hallelujah,
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom to everybody in TV land. It's story time. This is an allegory. We are all familiar with the Ten Commandments, right? We are, right? Are you sure? Okay, well, let's review them, shall we? So if you don't mind, let's turn to Exodus chapter 20. We're going to jump right into this and get going right off the bat. Usually I tell a story up front, but not this time. We're going to jump into something right here. All right, Exodus 20, starting in verse 1. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. And we get to our first commandment. You have no other mighty ones against my face. Commandment number 2. You do not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing loving commitment to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commandments. Commandment number 3. You do not bring the name of Yahweh your Elohim to naught. For Yahweh does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. Commandment number 4. Remember the Sabbath day to set it apart. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work, but the seventh is a Sabbath of Yahweh your Elohim. You do not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart. Commandment number 5. Respect your father and your mother, so your days are prolonged upon the soil which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. Commandment number 6. You do not murder. Commandment number 7. You do not commit adultery. Commandment number 8. You do not steal. Number 9. You do not bear false witness against your neighbor. And 10. You do not covet your neighbor's house. You do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor, to include his pen. I know yours don't say that, but you'll understand here in a minute. I want to bring to your attention the 8th commandment. Remember that one? What one that one was? You do not steal. So every day I go to work and I sit down at my desk and I work on my task. I have certain rituals, little routines I go through when I clock in at work, right? I get to work. I turn the light on into my office and I pull out my chair. I sit down and I shake my mouse, get my monitors to wake up. because who has time to turn the computer off? Not me. Okay. Then I log in to all my various apps that may or may not already be logged in to those. I check my email. I check my calendar to see what calls I have on my schedule for that day. Check on all my open tabs, because there are many, because who has time to close them down every evening either? And I basically pick up where I left off from the day before. And those of us who work in the computer field, that sounds pretty routine. So I have this pad of notebook paper that sits between me and my keyboard. Right there. That's where I jot down quick notes. Little things I need to write down here and there. Nothing special. In fact, that notepad is so randomly scribbled upon that there isn't anything particularly intelligible by anybody but me on that notepad. Single words, random numbers, doodles from really long conference calls in which somebody's droning on and on and on. The usual stuff. On this notepad, I keep a pen handy to make all my little marks. And I'm normally not enamored with pens or pencils. I don't put my name on them or keep close track of them normally. Some people are quite particular about their pens and pencils and objects and whatnots. And they put their names on them or their initials or all kind of other things to keep track of them. That isn't normally me. Okay? Especially with small items like pens and pencils. However, I do have this one pen that one of my coworkers gave to me out of a set he got for some present somewhere along the way. And it's not an expensive pen by any stretch of the imagination. It's not especially a great pen, but it's heavy. And it writes relatively nice. Has this screw on top. And it is yellow, bright yellow in color. So, and it had some words written on it that I can't even remember what it used to say that rubbed off like months and months and months ago, right? I've had this pen for a really long time. Needless to say, I like that pen. So after a few days of working from home, then I go into work, back into the office, one Wednesday morning. And I'm going through my routine. Go in, lights on, grab my chair, sit down, go to work, shake my mouse, the whole works, right? And then I go to write a note, and my pen is not there. Oh yeah, it's gone. So I look to the right, which I have a little pile of stuff over here that's got pens and pencils and all that other stuff in it, because maybe I left it there. It's not there. But there are other pens and pencils there, so I grab one, I make my note, and I move on with my day. No big deal. However, I am bothered by not seeing my pen, and it starts to worm around in my head. Where is that pen? What did I do with it? Well, I must have misplaced it. You know, that happens, right? We do that. No big deal. It's just a pen. But no. It's always right there on my notepad. I don't take it anywhere. It never leaves the office. That's my office pen. It's the one I keep right there at the office at my desk. Or right there next to it in that small pile with the rest of the pens and pencils. It's right there. Pens, pencils, stapler, right there. 2 more work days in the office and I still cannot find my pen. I asked my neighboring coworker if he might have borrowed my pen, because that could happen, right? People borrow pens. Sure. They borrow things. No big deal. But no, he has not borrowed it, nor has anyone else in the office borrowed my pen. The whole building has denied taking my pen. So another week goes by, and still no pen. And normally I'm a shrug it off kind of guy. No big deal. It's only a pen. However, 2 more weeks go by, and I'm still bothered by this missing pen. I have reviewed my steps. I have reviewed my routine, and I know I saw that pen right there on my desk, on my notepad. It was there. I know that is where it was, and I didn't take it away from my desk, nor is it anywhere in my desk, because I went through my drawers. You do not steal. But it's just a pen. Who cares? It's the principle. You do not steal. Someone stole my pen. And I think, well, oh well. Maybe they needed it, right? It's just a pen, right? In fact, I took this matter to a close personal friend of mine, someone I trust, who calmly tried to talk me down because I was upset, advising me it's only a pen. But like I said, it's the principle. My space was violated by someone who didn't respect my stuff or my space. Here, have this pen, he says. It's a good one. And I don't need it, he says. I take the pen. And it's a nice pen. It actually writes rather well. I feel a little bit foolish about it because, after all, it's just a pen. But it's the principle of it, and it still bothers me that somebody would violate my personal space and take my pen. So I start thinking a little more. That pen was missing on Wednesday. Who worked on Tuesday? I start reviewing who was in the office on Tuesday. Who was there and closed up on Monday night? Who had access to my office and who I thought might have taken my pen? The whole time reminding myself, you do not steal. Not only do you not steal, but Leviticus 19:11 adds additional weight to it. Do not steal, do not lie, do not deceive one another. Not only did someone steal my pen, but they lied to me about it. They stepped up to my desk and they took something, and then they denied taking it. Maybe they forgot. Nope. This pen is different than any of the other normal pens I've got. It's bright yellow. It's heavy. It's metal. It has a screw-off cap. It has a fine ball point, and it is just obnoxiously yellow. You don't forget this pen. So no. Whoever took my pen didn't forget about it. They just lied. I can see it now. Someone working in my office saw my pen on my desk and coveted it, wanted it, desired it, stole it, and then lied. I lay awake at night thinking about this and how I was going to catch them. In fact, if you'll turn with me to Exodus chapter 22, we'll talk a little bit more about you do not steal. So Exodus chapter 22. Exodus 22, verse 1. When a man steals an ox or a sheep and shall slaughter it or sell it, he repays 5 cattle for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. If the thief is found breaking in and he is struck so he dies, there is no guilt for his bloodshed. Didn't catch him in the crime. If the sun is risen on him there is guilt for his bloodshed. He shall certainly repay. If he has not the means, then he shall be sold for his theft. I could have sold him and got me some new pens. If the thief is indeed found alive, in his hand where it is an ox or a donkey or a sheep, he repays double. I could have got 2 pens. I could have got 4 or 5. When a man lets a field or vineyard graze bare and loses his livestock and it feeds another man, he repays for the beasts of his own field and his best of his own vineyard. Then when fire breaks out and spreads, so basically it goes on down and it talks more about what happens if you steal or have stolen. But on down in verse 8, if the thief is not found, when the master of the house shall be brought before Elohim to see whether he has put his hand into his neighbor's goods, for every matter of transgression, for ox or donkey or sheep, for garment or whatever is lost, which another claims to be his, let the matter of them both come before Elohim, and whomever Elohim declares wrong repays double to his neighbor. Somebody owes me 2 pence. This is no laughing matter. My pen thief might owe me 4 or 5 pence, at least double. And if he can't repay, I'll be able to sell him. To this point, I'm angry. There was somebody in my office I could not trust. That's a big deal. Week 4 of the pen thief story. I get to work. I turn on my light, pull out the chair, I sit down. I shake my mouse so my monitors come to life. I log in. I check my email. I check my calendar. I set up my tabs. And I pick up where I left off yesterday. And I'm still bothered by my missing pen. So I work the morning and I get up to go to lunch. And I'm sitting in my Ford Explorer. And I open my console next to me to get out some change to pay for my food. And in my console, in all of its yellow glory, is my pen. The floodgates of my memory spring open and I can clearly see in my mind that I had inadvertently taken my pen to my car. Instead of walking it back into the office and putting it back where it normally goes, I put it in my console so I would not lose it. I had spent hours walking the scene through my mind and of how someone had stolen my pen. I had invented a crime in my mind, and I built that crime into many sins committed against me by a faceless person. Accused my neighbors in my mind of horrid things. Allowed myself to get swept away in the turmoil of the wrong committed against me, that I had lost all sense of righteousness. And that's no laughing matter. It was I who committed the sin. It was I who wronged my neighbor. It was I who did the thing that was unrighteousness against people who had done nothing wrong. Shame at it all. Thankfully, I had only mentioned it to one person whom I trusted. He tried to talk me down. Even gave me a new pen that wrote better than the yellow one. Told me to let it go. Give it to Yahweh, he said. Let him take care of it. And pray that whoever has your pen should be blessed for its possession. It was only a pen. I'm a pretty bad guy, right? How I accuse my neighbors of such things. After all, there is a greater rule that I should have remembered. Love your neighbor as yourself. If I had loved my neighbor as myself, I would have given him the benefit of the doubt. I wouldn't have accused him even if only in my heart, which is all I did, without actual evidence that they had taken something. I wouldn't have spent so much of my energy thinking about this. It was only a pen. Only it wasn't a pen. It wasn't a pen at all. It was scissors. And it wasn't me who believed them stolen. It was a good friend of mine. All the events that took place are real, except that it was scissors and it was someone else. It wasn't my story to tell. I told my friend, this should be a sermon. It is a great lesson and a whole new spin on the old analogy, don't run with scissors, which we've all heard and we can all get a good chuckle out of. My friend, he came in, his normal routine, and his scissors had went missing. He blamed the cleaning ladies. He found his scissors after 4 or 5 weeks of that exact story. Not only, not in the console of his car, but in the back of his Bible that he keeps at his desk was where his scissors were at. I told him he should write the sermon, but he said he was uncomfortable with that and asked me to do it. I have put it off for quite some time. Before you judge him a bad person, I want you to know he is one of the most loving people I know. He is a Christian, and he gives his time to the poor and the hungry. He spends time with the dying and comforts the families. He hopes one day to be a pastor and to help the leadership at his congregation one day. And I hope Yahweh finds favor in him. I consider him a close friend. If during my story you felt a certain way towards the neighbors I was accusing in my story, or felt a some kind of way towards me when you found out I had misplaced my pen and was blaming other people, or that it was scissors and not a pen, that this was a friend and not really me, then I want to remind you that I told you in the very front of this that this is an allegory. You can replace the pen in your life story with anything and recall how you thought about that situation. Maybe you need to remember to love your neighbor as yourself, so you don't get caught running with scissors, or in this case, letting the scissors run away with you. Yahweh bless you and guard you. Yahweh make his face to shine upon you and show you favor. Yahweh lift his face upon you and give you peace.